All right, guys, welcome back. Jiu-Jitsu Motivation Podcast. My name is Greg Melita, owner of Hampton's Jiu-Jitsu, black belt, second degree.
And I'm Brian DeLuca, Jiu-Jitsu black belt and author of Jiu-Jitsu for Small People and other weird shit I think about.
All right, today we got Dante Leon on with us, a really high-level competitor on the Jiu-Jitsu and grappling circuit, and I've known Dante a couple of years now from working with the Kasai shows, and right now, I mean, it's just a top-notch. I just love the way, whenever we watch Dante, it's like an awesome combination of like Jiu-Jitsu with wrestling, with scrambles, and just always going for the finish. So, Dante, appreciate you coming on, man.
Thanks for having me, boys.
Cool. Yeah. So actually, we just bumped into each other at the No-Gi Worlds, man. Tell us a little bit about that experience there at No-Gi Worlds. How'd that go?
Yeah, No-Gi Worlds was a big tournament, man. I don't remember the last time that a adult black belt division had that many people. I mean, there's almost 50 people in my bracket, I'm pretty sure. So there was 6 fights to win for most people, but I had a higher seed, so it was 5 fights to win. Ended up taking second, losing in the finals by penalty. So it was a really close match in the finals, but leading up to that final, I had a really good run. I had 3 out of 4 submissions. I got a win over PJ Barch. Mm-hmm. 2 really quick submissions my first day, and then 1 point win and 1 win by submission in the second day, and then losing in the final. So you and I, we were actually like side-by-side table. I was at Buffalo Wild Wings eating before the final, and back there, each other ran into each other. We didn't even know we were there, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was funny, man. I haven't seen it in a while. Last time we went out to eat was a couple of Kasai shows, like, what was that, 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago now. I forget,
Yeah.
But that was cool, man. Yeah. So what was your, I mean, let's talk about that then. So like,
when I can talk about he was eating Buffalo Wild Wings right before the final.
yeah,
That was the only place that was close, man. It's the only place that was close. I just got like a grilled chicken breast and ate some like carrots and shit. I just needed something to fill my stomach, man.
I turned around. I thought I saw you like, inhaling down some like this huge monstrosity of wings or some shit. Maybe I was mistaken.
I'm like, what's going on here? Is he drinking beers and like eating wings, before the final?
I lost in the finals. I was fucked up.
Yeah,
Buffalo
right?
Wild Wings.
I did. Didn't I hear that the scales were like 4 pounds light or some shit?
Yeah, the scales were crazy light, man. Like I always keep my weight. I'm really, really cautious with my weight when I go to these tournaments. You know what I mean? My biggest thing is for students and everything. I'll go fucking bananas if somebody misses weight, man. I mean, that's like one of the things I'm so strict about. And I just remember stepping on the scale and being like, this is impossible. There's no way. Like, I know I'm not even on weight yet. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't even feel like I'm on weight. And scales at home were telling me I was like 179, 180, and I had to be 175 and a half. I step on the scale and I'm like on weight. I'm like, no fucking, So,
dude,
whatever. I mean, it makes things easier. When I weighed in on that scale, I was 171 or 172 pounds. So given how light it was by like them resetting it and everything, I think I was right around the 175 mark. I was 175.8 when I left my house in the morning and weighed in at 171 and a half or 172. So, I mean, yeah, they're pretty light, man.
That's crazy because usually it's the exact opposite, right? Usually it's like you feel like they're a little the other way, Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe they did that just to I don't know, not have so many people get disqualified or something like that. Maybe they had like a plan behind it, but I honestly just think they calibrated the scales and fucked up and just left them, honestly, because I don't know how I can have, like, we literally had like 3 or 4 scales in the Airbnb we were staying. We would weigh in like just down the line on them, and they were all pretty close, man. They were all like within 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds of each other. And all of them were way heavier than the one at the venue, so it was pretty weird.
We're gonna see the world's D sponsored by like Buffalo Wild Wings or some shit,
That'd be awesome. That'd be great.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. Like maybe they like messed up so they don't want people, traveling all over the country to get disqualified by the weight, or maybe, make people at ease. But that can fuck up like a lot of people's strategy for like cutting and shit, right?
I think so, man. I mean, it completely changes everything. I kept telling everybody that we were staying at the house with them, I'm like, don't bet on this, bro. Don't bet on this because they're going to come back tomorrow and they're going to fucking change these scales and then you're going to be fucked. You know what I mean? Like, what are you really going to do? So I told everybody, like, just base it on what's at the house. Like, try and make weight at the house. And every single person who made weight at the house was like 3 or 4 pounds lighter on the regular scale. So it was a complete trip, man, honestly. And they never changed it until like the whole time we were there. I don't want to sound like I'm complaining because but I mean, I wish I knew before.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought it like it could change people's. It could definitely change people's way. Like they want to switch. You know, like, oh shit. You know, maybe I want to go into a lighter division. I know when Rich Burns stepped on the scale, he just couldn't believe it. He was like, I mean, 4 and change pounds lighter than expected. You know what I mean? That's got to change people's strategy. And then how does that work with your division? Like, you just weigh in once, even though like if you make the finals, it's the next day. You don't have to weigh in again, right?
Yeah. So we just weighed in on Saturday, even though our matches were Saturday, Sunday. So basically, it was you weigh in Saturday, regardless of if you have a match that day or not. You just had to make weight on Saturday. So it was good for people who cut a little bit of weight because they just got to make weight pretty easily, and then they could eat and do whatever they wanted.
Yeah.
My weight wasn't really like that on the edge. You know, I wasn't going to go to lightweight regardless of like how light the scale was. That was like too big of a cut. But I think it sucks for some people who are kind of campfired in the middle of a division. You know, when the divisions are 13 pounds, it's a lot to give up on too. It's a lot to get down to the next weight. You know, it's not like boxing or anything where the things are like 4 and 6 pounds. So yeah, it was kind of a lot, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a lot. And like we were saying, you know, like some people who, I mean, I remember like 54 to 67, that's already a huge gap, but a lot of guys would cut from the heavier division and just barely make it. And then sometimes I'd go 154 and below. And then, you know, you were like right there and you can, but if you're the scale is like light, that's, you know, I mean, that could mess up your strategy if you want to cut. Did you have to cut leading up to this or no?
Yeah, I had to cut. I had to cut a little bit of weight because I was just kind of walking around a little bit heavier. To get to 175 is not really that hard. It's almost a walking around weight for me, you know, as long as I'm strict and on regimen with everything, you know. But as soon as the regimen kind of like steers away, as soon as your diet gets a little bit different or you're or a little more inactive in the gym, like you're not keeping up with your same workouts, it's really easy for your weight to go up. So it's kind of like what happened between traveling and different things like that. My weight kind of went up. I did have a little more to cut than expected. But again, it wasn't anything like crazy bad, you know?
Yeah. So now what's the we seen everybody, you know, out when we were in Dallas and stuff, and you've been training with the Daisy Fresh crew, right? How'd that come about?
Yeah, so honestly, like today was the first day. It was announced. It was let out to the public basically about myself, Mike, and Tammy Musamaki officially joining the team. So I'm officially had to go now, but I have been cross training with them since 2019, like mid to late 2019. We started together. I had a relationship with all the guys from Pet for a long time. You know, Heath and I have been friends probably for 7 or 8 years now. I known Andrew Wiltsey, like everybody knows Andrew. Andrew was always like a blue belt when I was a purple belt. He was a white belt when I was a blue belt. So we'd always see each other at tournaments, never compete against each other, but always had the idea of wanting to train together one day, you know, and that ended up becoming true in 2019. And since then, the relationship's just kind of been snowballing from there.
That's cool, man. Yeah, because even the guys that I were with, they were like, "Oh, it's Dante with the Daisy Fresh crew," and I was like, "I don't know, man. I mean, I know they train together, you know what I mean, but I don't know what was going on." So actually, so you said it's just announced. So can you just say that again for everybody? So it's what was the announcement officially?
Yeah, it just officially got announced. All the work's kind of been going on behind the scenes, you know, talking to Heath and making everything official and kind of parting ways with the team that I was on previously, but it just got announced today on the grappling bulletin all over Flow Grappling about me officially joining Pedigo Submission Fighting, the Daisy Fresh crew. And as well as me, there's Tammy Musumeci and Mikey Musumeci are on the team as well. So
that's sick.
Yeah.
That's cool. Now, the Mikey, what was the name of his? Was it his garage? Was the name of his affiliation?
Man, I'm not 100% sure like where he trains or what he does. I think he trains in a garage, either like on his property or somebody else's. And I think he called it Boop's Garage. I think that was like his team that he represented. I don't know if he's going to continue with that because like for me, I'm going to be on Pedigo and myself and my students and the competitors and everything at the gym are going to represent Pedigo submission fighting at major tournaments. But the gym is not going to be like a Pedigo gym. It is associated with Pedigo, but it's not going to change over to like Daisy Fresh or Pedigo Toledo, Ohio. It's still going to be, Adamus Jiu Jitsu in Toledo, even though it's 100% under Daisy Fresh now, you know what I mean? So I think Mikey's kind of doing the same thing, and he's there on like kind of the West Coast, Vegas, and then I'm over by Ohio. Mm-hmm. So it gives us a chance to kind of like build up really good things for the team and then kind of unite together and then just have like a super team, you know what I mean? Pedigo's already like, they're really pushing to be the number one team in the world.
Yeah, they definitely are. I mean, and like we talk about that on a podcast a lot. It's like that's the way people are doing gyms. Like they have their own thing and they have an affiliation, and that's the way it should be done. You should be able to run your gym how you want, and you're affiliated with the team that you want to be affiliated with. Every area in an academy is different. Every dynamic and demographic is different. You can't expect to run a cookie cutter like franchise, if you will. We've seen that, and it just doesn't work. So yeah, that's cool, man. Congratulations. That's a huge, damn, that's a monster partnership right there. Holy shit. And everybody's seen on Flow, the Daisy Fresh shows and stuff like that. And we know those guys. It's just the grit and where they come from. It's just such an inspiring thing. But besides that, what stands out as far as their training? Is there anything specific, like as far as the training methodology?
The training methodologies is a lot more strategic and planned out than one would think. You know what I mean? It's and that's always kind of been like how I viewed my training. For a number of reasons, my trainings had to be really planned and really methodical, really thought out, very program based, and that's what I feel with them a lot too. A lot of people might see the style or see on the outside and just think it's just a bunch of dudes just getting in, like slanging and banging in the gym. You know what I mean? And that's not really what it is. There's method behind the madness. And I really like that because not only is there an idea, a goal in mind, but there's also that drive and that motivation to just, work hard and bust your ass every time you're in the gym. And another thing too is it's like the gym, when you go there, like it's something you have to see to kind of believe. You got to be there to kind of feel what it's like to be in the Pedigo gym. It's like, it's unexplainable, man. It'll definitely break you down. I mean, I'm talking about in the winter, it's cold, like snow's seeping in under the door and shit. And in the summer, it's like so hot that there's a couple times that when I train there, I go outside and I lay down on the asphalt in the sun to cool off, man. Like, I don't know. It's like literally so hot in the gym that like, it makes you want to die, bro. So even though there's a lot of programming and it's really focused, the element, the environment, the training partners, Heath pushing you, it can take anybody to like the limit, far beyond what you thought you could really do. So it just has a great mix all around.
That's awesome. You think it's like a kind of like a college wrestling environment mixed, fused in with jiu-jitsu a little bit, if you will, as far as that part of it? Because I think that part of it's missing a lot in all, different teams and academies. And you have that wrestling background, right?
No, I actually never wrestled before.
You look like you did, man.
I know. Everybody thinks I did. I actually never wrestled before. I only wrestled like starting jiu-jitsu or doing jiu-jitsu. That's the only time I really
improved
on.
Striking?
No.
No? I'm sure I read that somewhere, man. The internet.
I played hockey. I mean, you might have I used to do like boxing and Muay Thai and things like that with my dad, but I never did anything really too structured. You know what I mean? I just kind of trained and farted around with it basically and did some stuff that way just to kind of learn the basics and stuff. So
yeah,
wrestling wasn't really big where I grew up, so I never really had too many opportunities to wrestle. So that just came when I moved to Ohio, because if you live in Ohio and you don't wrestle, like I think they accept you here. So
oh yeah,
pretty much
that whole area.
You're really young, right? Like 12 or something like that. I think I read.
Yeah, I started when I was 12. Correct. Yep. Yeah.
That's sick, man. Yeah, we actually, I know Flo had the documentary kind of style thing with Daisy Fresh, and then, but I never like sat down and watched through that whole thing. But I did see a lot of the those guys, obviously in different events, and was just really impressed. But then that documentary that Flo came out with, American Jiu Jitsu, that whole premise, and I seen a lot of the Pedigo guys in that one. Did they kind of they're part of that whole movement too, right?
I don't know. It's almost like that American Jiu-Jitsu movement is almost kind of something that everybody just kind of got like roped into. I don't know if any of those teams that are there are specifically saying that it's like American versus Brazilians necessarily, especially like Pedigo. They don't really have any issues with anybody. The Brazilians got really offended by it. They got all upset. A lot of them, I'm not trying to generalize, but a lot of them were like up in arms about it. And it's like, what the fuck you're getting upset about? Like, we really didn't do anything. It's just a bunch of white people who, strive and flourish in jiu-jitsu. No one's trying to like start a war here. You know what I mean? This is kind of like, this is what somebody who covers media does, like Flow Grappling. They're supposed to make something like that. They have to highlight the other places in the world, But to answer the question about like what's Pedigo like, as far as is it like a college training room or is it something like that? It's a weird fusion of like a extremely positive college training room, And a lot of times when you have a college program or a training room and you're dealing with that kind of thing, you don't have the same kind of positivity and passion, because regardless of what you want to say, there's just some people in there who don't want to fucking wrestle, and they just don't want to do it, like no matter how good they were or whatever. And at Pedigos, you don't find anybody who doesn't want to be there. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not like you're going to go into the training room and you're going to get partnered up with somebody and be like, oh, this guy's a waste of my time, man. This guy's just lazy. Like, even if the guy's not that good, even if the girl's not that good, they're going to come at you like hard and give you a good look, and they're going to give you the best that they can, And there's no college training room on the planet. There's no college training room in the entire NCAA that has that much positivity and that much effort involved. I don't think so. Do you know what I mean? You're always going to run into people who don't want to be there. You're always going to run into like coaches who kind of don't give a fuck. And you never have that at Pedigos with the same kind of intensity and the same kind of drive that you do find in those college rooms.
Right. What's interesting is, no one's going to train at a place, like you said, that's going to be freezing in the winter and super hot in the summer if they really don't want to be there. Like you're just not going to show up and train somewhere that's much easier for you.
Exactly. If you don't like it, it's going to be really easy to leave, because it's not like for the faint of heart, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that seems like a really unique, and that's obviously with the coverage that they're getting, you can see that when you see the videos. These guys are just, it's a positive, hardworking environment in there. It's not about they're beating you down in a negative way. They're beating you down and lifting you up, and it's kind of pushing everybody in an all, a tide raises all ships kind of thing. It just makes, I don't think I'm surprised that, that you guys all made that official kind of thing. And then you guys do I mean, I know even before that you announced that, Dante, you were always big into to adding the weightlifting programs into the jiu-jitsu. And I think for years, I mean, even from my experience, I was always, told that, oh, you don't want to do that, or, you don't want to, that'll make you either overtrain, or you don't want to be too tight. You always want to be flexible and all this other stuff. I think it's writing is on the wall now. If you don't have some kind of strength, some kind of strength program. Now there's different types and there's different ones that are better for other people, but just having a strength program, if you don't have that, I really don't think you're going to be in the top of the world level guys. What do you think?
I agree 100%. I agree 100%. And even if you are going to be in the top 1% of because like, let's face it, if you're in the top 5 in your weight, if you're in the top 10 in your weight, you're like upper 1 percentile of jiu-jitsu competitors. You know what I'm saying? Like you're literally like, not just of all people who do jiu-jitsu, like of all jiu-jitsu competitors, you're like top 1%. That's how many people compete and are trying to make like a living at this shit. So when you're in that kind of like bracket, are you going to be successful if you don't lift? There are some guys who can do it. But now we have to take into consideration like longevity, injury prevention, how long you're going to last. Like if your body's not strong, it's just going to break down the older that you get. If you can't fight off or be able to bounce back from injuries because you don't have other tendons and muscles that are strong enough to support what's injured or help you through it, it's only a matter of time before something's really going to go wrong. So there's just way too many, I say, like detriments or things that are there if you're not strength training. So just because you're successful without it doesn't mean that that's how it's always going to be. The stronger person, the stronger athlete's going to last a lot longer and be able to train a lot more than you. So that's something that I think people now are really realizing because it's becoming professional and people can make money. Back in the day when people couldn't make money, it was just an amateur sport. So things were taken at an amateur approach. You know what I mean? So now it's a lot different.
Yeah, and not putting in all those other things like strength training, conditioning. They were just going, they were competing, and it was the jiu-jitsu. And I mean, but you can see that. I mean, not to go back to the American jiu-jitsu thing, but we also see so much more wrestling being blended into jiu-jitsu these days than has been in the last, I don't know how long. So we see more and more wrestling coming in.
Yeah, I think before people avoided the things that were hard. So like strength training is not easy, especially if you have to do it and then be really sore or have to try and like learn how to do something new and study a whole other side of sports outside of jiu-jitsu. And then wrestling's hard too because you can't, like honestly, you can't just sit on your ass or pull guard or lay back on your back when you're tired. Like to wrestle is just very, very demanding. So you have these combinations here where when it was amateur, you didn't have to do the really hard things. Now that it's professional, you have to like bite the bullet and do these things. So that's a big reason why I think these things are coming about. Because, whoever trains hardest and is the smartest, who uses their time the most effective is going to make the most money here. And is going to be, the champ and have the belts and the history and the career to hang his hat on. And the person who takes this with an amateur approach, like the approach that worked, 10, 15 years ago, is not really going to make it anymore in this sport. So that's the thing that I think a lot of people have to like learn to deal with or learn just in general.
Yeah, I think that's that's 100% with that. I mean, you see just trial and error. Like a lot of people were getting big into like CrossFit, for example, and like, but I mean, so many of those guys were like overtraining because you would be doing a strength portion, then you'd be doing like a WOD thing, and then you go to jiu-jitsu, where I think for me with like CrossFit and weightlifting and fitness training and trying to combine that jiu-jitsu, the best answer for me personally was just sticking with a great strength program. Strengthen your joints up and make sure your relative body strength is solid, and try to keep those PRs up and get really solid strength programs, and then utilize your jiu-jitsu for your high intensity shit. You know what I mean? And then if you're gonna do some low intensity stuff, that's fine, but don't try to. You can easily overtrain doing all this other shit too much. And you were doing West Side, right? Are you still doing West Side programming? You still following all that?
Yeah, like the Conjugate Method. It's really what I focus on. All my strength training and weightlifting is structured around the Conjugate Method. So
Yeah, I mean that's Louis Simmons.
People don't know what that is. Can you explain that a little bit? Like, how
Yeah.
it works?
Yeah, so Conjugate Method, honestly, we can date it back like really, really far. I mean, there's a lot of Russian textbooks. It was used, Eastern Bloc way of training, max effort training, and then dynamic effort training, where basically what that means is you got one day where you're going really heavy, you have another day where you're going pretty light for like a lot of reps and a lot of sets, so 10 by 2, 12 by 2, 10 by 1, whatever, depending on the exercise. Without to get into too much detail, Louis Simmons, who owns Westside Barbell, studying the different textbooks and a lot of the Eastern Bloc and German and Bulgarian training, kind of like condensed everything and put everything together to make the Conjugate Method, which is basically a 4-day split where you do upper body and lower body, a max effort, dynamic effort for each. Given the variance of exercises that there are, and the allowance for different kind of rep ranges and different things, it's a really great program to be able to program to any sport. You know what I mean? It was something that was developed for guys to get the biggest totals on a platform for power lifters. But since then, it's been something that I don't see even as many power lifters use it nowadays as I do athletes. You know what I mean? So I just think it's a great way of training to maximize your time, to maximize your strength, to develop speed, and just to develop power from head to toe, man, honestly. And that's what it's about. So it's something that I found doing a lot of different programs that was really easy to program for jiu-jitsu and minimize your fatigue, minimize your central nervous system and different things like that, to allow you to put the focus on jiu-jitsu and technique, put all the time there. That's where the focus is. And the strength training just kind of keeps your body in tune and keeps you going.
Yeah, you're one of the first guys that that I've really seen put a smart emphasis on that strength training, because I think when people think of powerlifting, they kind of like, oh, powerlifting is you guys just trying to lift as much as they can and you're going to get hurt doing that. But if anybody actually knows the Westside Barbell system and Conjugate Method and Louis Simmons and all that, the Conjugate Method itself was purposefully made for athletes so that they would never overtrain. Like the way that it's set up, like you can do max lifts, like you said, maximum effort days, and then dynamic effort. It's designed so that you can get PRs and increase your strength for whatever sport you're doing, but never be at risk at that overtraining.
Yeah, exactly. And when we're talking about guys in jiu-jitsu and lifting, and back in the day you were talking about guys going to CrossFit, it's just a classic example of back in the day there wasn't really any kind of program. There wasn't any kind of program with jiu-jitsu training. There wasn't any kind of program with lifting. Like, honestly, we all started jiu-jitsu being under the same impression that if we come in the gym and we do 10 rounds and we get really sweaty and we're tired, that we had a great workout and it was really constructive, and that's cool. There's a place for that. There's a time for things like that. But a lot of the times that's not really what takes you to the next level, and that's not what keeps you at the highest level. There needs to be some kind of training program and some kind of program that you follow with goals in mind, So any kind of, yeah.
Oh, sorry. What's occurring to me is, the old adage of jiu-jitsu is designed for the weaker guy to beat the stronger guy, right? Like, we're saying if you're the weaker guy, even if you're in the same weight class, you ain't, without conditioning, you ain't beating no one,
Yeah, exactly. Like once it becomes a sport that's professional, that has, paychecks and these different kind of things that we have now. Yeah. I mean, you see people get in shape. I don't think you see anybody in like the NFL that's not pretty jacked and strong, you know what I mean? So like the more competitive a sport gets, the more popular it gets, the more that you see an athlete versus an athlete, rather than martial art versus martial art.
Yeah,
you
well,
know?
you're talking about like a huge point that I wanted to bring up too is nowadays with the professionalism of jiu-jitsu and, it's just changed and there's still a lot of schools that are 10, 15 years behind even what we're talking about. Because in the beginning, like you said, the small guy, teach the small guy to beat the stronger guy. Yeah, that's you're going to teach a guy to do jiu-jitsu and then against a guy that's untrained, 100%. A blue belt can handle himself against a guy that's not trained who's way bigger and stronger than him. But now you're talking about beating other jiu-jitsu guys and going up the belt ranks in a professional way. Everybody's learning the same techniques. Everybody's trying to stay ahead with the evolution. Everybody's doing some kind of strength training now. That's a totally different game. Totally different ball game.
So much different because now we're talking about people in like a bracket where we're not even like at the top of the game for the most part. No one's really separated by a whole lot. You know what I'm saying? Like pretty much a lot of people do the same techniques and a lot of people are like very similar with how they roll, and number 1 and 2, number 1 to 4, number 1 to 5, like a lot of divisions, there's just a few percentage of difference in their jiu-jitsu. So you have to start to rely on other things in athletics, like what's going to help you like push through to victory. You know what I mean? Like, are you conditioned? Do you have heart? Or you have the will to win? Are you intelligent? Are you a good competitor? Are you like super good at jiu-jitsu, but you're a complete shit competitor mentally? Well, you're not going to do very well against this guy. He's going to mentally break you. So different things come into play and it starts to become athletics. You know what I mean? It starts to become like man to man, a real competition instead of just, an amateur sport where whoever just has the best jiu-jitsu and can do the most jiu-jitsu can win. It's not like that anymore.
Yeah, and you talk about the strength training too. Like you see a lot of guys, a lot of big names out there, and people look at them doing strength training and they think, oh, okay, just do a bunch of bodybuilding lifts and then train jiu-jitsu. And I tell you what, even though that's oversimplifying it, it's definitely not as deep as that. It looks like that, but people that come from the 10, 15 years ago of doing nothing can definitely benefit from just doing some basic lifts and, add some jiu-jitsu. But at the same time, there's levels to everything. There's levels to this shit. And the stuff that you're doing with the Conjugate Method and these top 10 guys that are doing with specific programs, some people have no idea. But, to some people, it just looks like they're doing bodybuilding lifts and training jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I think there's no reason why anybody who does jiu-jitsu shouldn't lift and strength train, honestly, at any level. If I wasn't doing jiu-jitsu at the level I'm doing now, would I have a workout regimen that looked the exact same? Absolutely not. I would not be doing the amount of volume that I do now. I wouldn't be, trying to focus on certain lifts, but I would be doing a program, and it would most likely be a conjugate method based program where things were just different. Instead of doing 5 sets of an exercise, I'm doing 2 or 3 sets. Instead of working up to, a max effort set of 5 or set of 3 where it's really hard and there's a lot of muscle recruitment going on, I just might work up to a decently heavy set of 1 every time, So there would be some changes that it would make if I wasn't at the level I'm at now, if I was just kind of a guy who's a hobbyist. But I would still strength train because there's no reason that I need to not be strong enough and get hurt and miss 3 weeks of work or some shit, or miss a month of class and have to stay home. There's just no reason for that.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it in simplest terms, in jiu-jitsu, you're looking to damage or bend somebody's joints. Strength training strengthens the joints. I mean, it's as simple as that. It's going to help you not get injured. It's going to help you recover better, and you're stronger in your positions. For years, I was told, oh, it's going to hurt your flexibility, but it strengthens the joints, and that's what people are trying to do to you. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
And every single, like if you take powerlifting, for example, every single powerlifter has to do something to stay like limber, where they do yoga or they do these things called active recovery, where they walk with a sled and they do these things to keep their mobility up and keep their muscles working. I don't really know what jiu-jitsu guys need for active recovery, because jiu-jitsu is active recovery. It's literally like, natural gymnastics. It's literally yoga in motion. You're going through all these positions, or you're doing all these different kind of like flexes and different postures and working your balance and working your core and working hip and knee flexibility all the time. I mean, it's nothing that if you feel yourself getting tighter, to throw in 5 or 10 minutes of stretching, throw in 10 or 15 minutes of yoga every couple days, every day, however you need to do it. I haven't really felt like my natural flexibility go down from doing lifting and then still training jiu-jitsu, because I feel like when I'm doing jiu-jitsu, it's going to like force me to get in those flexing positions and get flexible and work those muscles out and different things like that. So I think I almost feel better doing jiu-jitsu after lifting.
Yeah, I mean, jiu-jitsu is involuntary yoga, right?
Exactly.
And you mentioned before when we were talking in the beginning with the IBJJF No-Gi Worlds that you did, and you mentioned how you had like 50 guys in your division. Now, do you think it's just because we were talking on the podcast before how it was a smart move for IBJJF to legalize heel hooks in the black belt adult division and brown? You know, we've seen a lot of people do want to come back into that, and now you're also seeing the dynamic of IBJJF change because nobody's just sitting around in 50-50 anymore, dangling their legs out there. You're going to get whipped into a heel hook. You think that dynamic of the rule set changing a little bit, or maybe no-gi's getting more popular now? What do you think? You said you seen that it was like way more people this time.
Well, a couple reasons. Last year there wasn't a no-gi world, so I think you got a lot of people champing at the bit a little bit. I think no-gi is getting more popular than it used to be, but I don't think that no-gi has reached the popularity of the gi as far as practice, as far as practitioners. But as far as an audience and as far as support, no-gi blows the gi out of the water. Regardless of what people want to say, oh, there's more people at Gi Worlds, or there's this or there's that. Yeah, how many of them pay to watch? So, you know what I mean? The amount of people that pay to watch no gi has literally blown gi out of the water. So because of that, I think that slowly but surely, a lot of people are starting to train no gi. A lot of people are taking interest in it. And it gives the people who kind of like no-gi was literally like for IBJJF, it literally didn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, you know, no-gi tournaments back in like 2010, 2012, like nobody cared, man. Like nobody showed up. Nobody cared. If you won like a no-gi world title, a lot of people wouldn't even like pay attention. It was usually just the same people who won gi tournaments because they would bring the same kind of like attitude and game into there. But now it's way different. It's like a whole different sport in and of itself. So the scenery's really, really changed. I think between the growth and popularity and no Worlds tournament last year, I just think it brought everybody out of the woodwork.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's a good point, actually. Like, the numbers wise, practitioner wise, like let's say hobbyists and academies and things like that, you definitely probably have more people that train gi, but like you said, the support, the professional athletes being paid, and people that actually want to watch and be entertained by grappling, a blow away. You know, people want to watch in the gi, you know what I mean? Like people way more want to watch no gi and submission grappling 100%. But that's interesting because I think you're right. There's still more people that practice in the gi, but would rather watch no gi, and people are starting to catch up to it, learning the techniques, because like you said, it's a whole different sport in of itself with, you know, sub only. Not only that, talk about just, you know, adding heel hooks. And when I was at the no-gi worlds, you know, you don't see a lot of people seesawing from 50-50 as much anymore.
Thank God too. I mean, honestly, when you have the threat of heel hooks, it's very risky to get into a 50-50 position and not get in some kind of shootout if you don't know what you're doing offensively and defensively with your legs. So you had a lot of guys that would go to the 50-50 position and had no idea how to do a leg lock, like literally knew nothing about it. They knew how to defend a straight foot lock from the 50-50 and how to avoid the knee bar, which when you're just talking about these two kind of submissions and that's all you have to worry about, it doesn't even make sense. But now when you add reaping and heel hooks, it changes everything. You know, from that position, the guy can roll inside and attack your heel. He can bring your leg to the outside and go to a double outside heel hook. I mean, there's a million different options that are far more intricate than a straight foot lock or a knee bar, you know. You know, back in the day, I don't know if you guys remember, but you couldn't even, like, if you got a straight footlock, you couldn't roll inside. Like, you could only roll one way. So,
Yeah.
like, when you just have all these limitations and only a straight footlock to submit somebody, or a knee bar or a toe hold, and you have all these limitations behind it, it gets really difficult, man. It's very easy to make a good defensive game plan and still not even increase your offensive knowledge.
Yeah.
I have a question, right? We see a lot now. We see a lot of, schools that are like strictly no-gi, right? Like if we look out like 2 years or 5 years, do we think that it's going to be proportionally bigger? Like 75% of the school is going to be basically like no-gi?
I don't know. I mean, I think what you're seeing right now that's coming about, yeah, I do think you'll see a lot more of it. I think because people can relate to it. I don't think anybody sees somebody in a gi and is like, whoa, that looks cool. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't do that shit,
Right.
then you're not really going to agree with, seeing somebody in a gi or seeing somebody do that. And I don't think that we need to make the sport any more popular to people inside the sport. Like, I don't need a dude who's like 40 years old to get really excited about jiu-jitsu when he's already a purple belt. I want somebody who doesn't even know what jiu-jitsu is to get excited about it and to want to come to this sport. And a lot of times they have no idea what's going on and they see us running around in our gis. They don't get really too excited, man. They kind of don't know what the fuck is going on. So when they see, two dudes wrestling in rash guard and shorts or, whatever no-gi outfit, they can kind of relate to it, man. A lot of people wrestle before. A lot of people did MMA. A lot of people didn't do it, but are big fans. A lot of people's kids wrestle. So they can see this shit and kind of make the connection in their head. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, that's a good point too, because a lot of people are, they see MMA and they're in shorts. I mean, they don't have shirts on, but they're in shorts, so it's similar, right? Wrestling, it's the same, it's the same sort of stuff. So yeah, you're right. There is more familiarity with no-gi than there is gi with those.
Yeah, 100%, man. 100%. And that's not to say anything. I personally love the gi. I don't love everything about jiu-jitsu competitions and the rule set around the gi. Yeah, I don't like everything about the gi competition in the scene, how like the rule sets held it back from being professional for a really long time, I think. You know what I mean? I don't think you can really deny that. So I don't love everything about the gi, but I do like the gi, man. That's how I started doing jiu-jitsu. That's what my focus was, to be proficient in the gi. So
yeah, I think the writing's on the wall, man. You just said it perfectly. I think everybody's starting to see that the rule set of IBJJ have hindered the growth of the sport to their benefit, right? I mean, and hey, the positive with the negative, the yin and yang is, yeah, did they do great things for the sport and organize it in some kind of way? Yeah, but it is a private organization that wants to make money, so their rule set, was a way to do that. But then, they stifled the growth of jiu-jitsu and like now with the leg lock game. I mean, I use this analogy and it may be a little over the top, but to try to get people to wake up and to see how different like the leg lock game, specifically the heel hook game, has changed the sport. I always equate it to Hoist Gracie armbarring a karate guy in the first UFC. It's like some of these guys that don't know the leg game in heel hooks. That's kind of how it is. It's like, a traditional gi guy that never got into the heel hook game. I mean, they leave themselves wide open. It's a totally different art in itself. And I relate it to that. That's how much the sport has changed, but there's still so many people that are still stuck in that. And I feel like that's what jiu-jitsu to me was all about. It was all about the evolution and figuring out the best way to beat other guys in jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it was about. At some point, it became less about evolution and more about preserving the roots and things like that. But it stifled the growth of the sport, I think. I think.
Yeah, I mean, when you don't, jiu-jitsu athletes, for the most part, adapted very quickly. The ones who took it seriously, you know what I mean? It was like, for me, for example, it wasn't something that I really strived at, but very quickly it became something that I'm like almost known for now, is leg lock defense. So it is something that if you take this shit serious, you can pick up on and you can add to your game. The fact that a lot of these people are kind of staying away from the game altogether and kind of doing what they're doing elsewhere, Just because you compete IBJJF with heel hooks doesn't mean like you're competing in submission only with heel hooks. You know what I mean?
100%.
Big difference. Adding heel hooks in an IBJJF rule set doesn't necessarily change everything. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't. When you add it and you put emphasis that we have now on submission only, these tournaments like Who's Number One and these tournaments like EBI and things like that, when you put focus on jiu-jitsu just as a whole, you see that it's literally like it's a night and day difference when you have somebody who's proficient in leg locks who's going against somebody who's not. Mm-hmm. You could literally be like 120% more skilled than this guy everywhere else but your legs, and 100% of the time you're probably going to get submitted. You know what I'm saying? Like almost guaranteed that's what's going to happen. The dude's going to enter your legs one time and tap you.
Yeah. What do you prefer? What rule set do you prefer?
I mean, I like all of them, man. Honestly, like I've competed in every single rule set and I've succeeded. I've done really well in every single one. So I like all of them. They all have their upside. They all have their downside, honestly. Mm-hmm. I mean, when you're talking about points rule set, and I think that the downside stems from the competitors. Ultimately it stems from the organization, because they're the ones who it's up to you to like penalize people and to keep your rules up to date. But a lot of times it's the athletes that try and exploit the holes in the game and kind of try and game what they're going to do based on, the rule sets and what the rule set can allow them to do. You know what I mean? So it's like the classic EBI thing, where EBI first came out, everybody was trying to kill each other. It was the most exciting jiu-jitsu event on the planet. And then everybody started gaming and trying to just kind of ride it out until overtime. And then that's where the focus would be. And then they would win in overtime. And quickly it became pretty boring. You know what I mean? Quickly the fights did not hold up to what they were before. So, yeah, I don't think that there's like one rule set that's just completely superior to the other. I just think if you get two really good athletes who are really close in skill, really a nice tight matchup, I think they're going to have a great fight that looks pretty similar across the board on any rule set.
Yeah, that's a good point too. I mean, and how do you guys approach everything at Pedigo? Like you said, you guys, everything's planned out. So obviously you're getting ready for Nogi World, you're doing IBJJF, style stuff, and you're making sure you're good with leg locks. Maybe you're getting ready for a WNO and you're doing the sub only thing. But in general, over at Pedigo, what's the as far as the heel hook game and the leg attack game, it's everybody's pretty proficient over there, obviously, right?
Yeah, and what happens at Pedigo and what happens here is very similar, and I can define it as almost every day we work feet to floor. You know what I mean? We work standing, we work our hand fighting, we work our wrestling, we get into the ground, we do our drills and our specifics through our positions that we're working on. Then we might get into live rounds or some more specific training, and then there's more drilling or technique discussion after that, and then we have another session at night. How the guys at Pedigo's work, where they come in on a day, we start the hand fighting, we start wrestling, we go into live rounds or specific rounds of wrestling, then we'll go into other specific training or anything like that, or any kind of live rounds that we're going to do. So it gives us if we're not focusing just on a tournament, it's always a really good mix to work the entirety of your game.
So you mentioned you train at night too. What do you guys do at night, or is that part of what you listed out?
Yeah, well, usually at night's a lighter session. That'll be something like at the end of every session, it's not uncommon for guys to want to drill extra or to have some questions about what came up in training. And a lot of times we can discuss it, or we kind of like visit it or bounce ideas off each other. And then at nights, usually when we can like revisit that or kind of drill those techniques or get some extra work in on whatever you're going to do. So I always try and have some kind of activity through jiu-jitsu at night. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like you balance it out. You know what I mean? You can't expect to do just like the conjugate method in the strength training. It seems like that's it. You got to do that for your jiu-jitsu training too. You're not going to do 2 days of freaking live rounds beating the shit out of each other. It's just not the way it's going to work.
Yeah, exactly. Like there has to be some kind of program. There has to be a focus and, why are you doing this shit? There always has to be an answer, like when you get done doing something. So if you come in the gym and you just do 12 rounds in a row, like you kind of have to ask yourself, why the fuck are you doing that? If you can't actually answer that question, then what's going on? Like if you're a world class black belt and you're doing like these armbar drills from the guard where like you're just doing this really loose technique and just throwing your legs side to side, like ask yourself the question seriously, why are you doing that? You know what I'm saying? And if you have answers for those things and you can justify it, then great. I mean, maybe it's useful, but if you don't have an answer as to why you're doing something, then why are you doing it? You know what I mean?
You gotta always question authority, question your training. You know what I mean? Ultimately, you're voting with your dollars where you're going for your academy. So like, you gotta always, keep looking and questioning about the training, questioning the techniques, and keep going forward. I tell everybody all the time. I mean, in I don't know what belt level, but it was within our own training partners. Everybody knows each other's moves, and then you get like so good. But if you're at your academy, if you're just battling it out every class like it's a tournament, I went maybe 2 years and didn't get my guard passed, because you're only training with a small 4 or 5, maybe 10 guys, and everybody's training with each other. And then somebody in that room that visits is better than you. Now you get your back taken or you're mounted, and you never escape the mount in a couple of years. Then you got to question your training. It's not just all about a tournament style every time, because then you got to balance it out. You got to do Q&A. You got to go specific training, specific techniques. So you're 100% right on that. You got to question everything,
100%, man. 100%. Like, and you're against the clock in this shit, man. That's what nobody understands and nobody wants to. You don't just have time to waste. You don't just have time to do this shit, man. It's not just like it's always going to be here. You're always going to be at your peak. Like, you can do jiu-jitsu forever, but you can't be healthy and in shape and young forever. Do you know what I'm saying? So if you're doing all this shit and you're wasting your time, you're like literally shooting yourself in the foot, man. Like, if you don't have a program and a plan when you're doing everything, then what are you really doing, man? You're just wasting time.
I can't believe how many people like considered a tournament like, oh, well, the guy didn't want to do jiu-jitsu with me. Or like, what do you think this is? Like, this is a tournament. This is a sport. You got to outsmart it. Like, Brian, how many years did people come back from a tournament and they're like, oh, well, the guy scored a point on me and held me down. Well, why don't you fucking do that then? Why don't you fucking do that?
Yeah.
Like, this is a strategy game. This isn't, the guy didn't want to do jiu-jitsu. No, he wanted to win, actually.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think
absolutely.
it's perspective. So, but yeah, so Dante, shout out some of your sponsors. Who you got now?
Oh, so Perry Athletics, they take care of my gear, and they've done gear for my gym and a lot of my students and fellow competitors. So really high quality stuff, really having fun and enjoying working with them. Now for a long time, been with Armbar Soap and Monkey Tape since 2017. Like to represent those guys. Armbar Soap, obviously some of the best aesthetics on clothes and training gear that you can find. And CBD Distillery. From what I've tried, pretty clean, pretty good products as far as CBD goes. A lot of CBD you think it's just because it doesn't work. Their stuff's quite pure. Their stuff's quite regulated and really seems to work, man. Especially any of the sleep aids or post-training recoveries work really, really well.
Nice. And your socials, Instagram and all that, is Dante Leon BJJ, right?
Dante Leon BJJ. I'm on Facebook too. Probably hard to add me there since tops out on friends really quick, but anywhere people want to message me, anywhere on social media, I get right back to everybody in my DMs. So hit me up.
Nice. Everybody slide into Dante's DMs over there.
Right.
What do you got coming up? You got anything coming up next?
Yeah, next thing planned is I got a super fight against Oliver Taza. That's going to be at Grapple Fest. It'll be the main event. Taza and I are going to do a 15-minute sub-only match. Judge's decision if it goes to the distance. And winner of that is going to be the interim title holder at 80 kg. And then hopefully I can get a chance to run it with Lachlan Giles since he's the belt holder over there.
Oh, that's right.
So would love to do that. But the next thing on the agenda is November 20th.
Awesome. Well, we'll definitely be looking out for that. And yeah, actually, we'd love to talk to the Pedigo guys. I'd like to get in there and shoot some content, for JJM and maybe do like a little documentary kind of thing. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, man, for sure.
Rolling. So I'll definitely.
Sure, anytime you want, come on down. Everybody would love to have you, I'm sure, man.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll keep in touch, man. Make sure you guys follow Dante on all the socials, and we're going to be looking out for him in any of these super fights or championships that he's in. And, best of luck to you, man. I always love watching you fight. You definitely bring it every time, no matter what rule set you fought in all of them. And really love the way you're incorporating the strength training in there too, man. So we'll definitely be in touch. And we'll have to go out to eat again next time we're on the same show, man.
Would love to, man. Would love to. Guys, thanks for having me on. Hope everybody watching it. Hope you guys learn a little bit. See, not just another pretty face. All right, guys.
All right, guys. Take care. Make sure you guys subscribe. Make sure you check out jujitsumotivation.com. Make sure you slide into Dante's DMs, and make sure you stay in touch with us, guys. See you soon.